our sales stats, we're going to look at our business expenses, and we're going to identify where the money went. This is extremely important because a lot of us, we've done a lot of weird and stupid stuff, right? And we try to put all that away, like out of our heads, because we're like, oh, that didn't work. But what we fail to do is we fail to realize that that cost us money. Right? So although we want to forget about what we did that didn't work out, we have to understand where the money still went. So now, once we get into the income producing activities, I want you all to understand, it's all about the Pareto principle. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your activities. The 80-20 rule, right? That's all it is. So what we want to do is we want to do the 20% that matters and forget the rest. So again, too many of us want to do too many things. And we always believe that as long as we're busy, then everything is good. Oh, I'm busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But are you productive? And you can be working 8 hours a day and literally get nothing. Whereas someone works 3 hours a day and is far more productive than you. Okay? So again, you need to be able to work smart and efficiently. Don't just think that being busy is being good. You have to understand why you're busy. Okay? And if it's because you're being productive, then good for you. Right? Now, if you flip over to page 6, I want us to start with this. Do you know where your deals came from? So this is really straightforward, and again, this is something that's very, very common in all sales practices. We want you to understand where your business came from, because that will identify what you're succeeding in. So all you have to do now is put a check mark in the columns buyer or seller and what the source is. So if you got one buyer from door knocking and one seller from door knocking, put one there and one there. Okay? So as you do this, again, I'm just going to keep talking while you guys are doing this exercise, because I want to explain one thing that we all forget to do. Maybe some of you are doing it, maybe some of you aren't. But when you get a phone call and someone says, John, can you come to my house and tell me what it's worth? Because we're thinking about selling. And you say, yeah, sure, absolutely. You get really excited, right? But what we all fail to do is we fail to ask, let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Potential Seller. But I'd like to know where or how you got my name and number. Was it through a referral where I'd helped one of our mutual acquaintances and did a good job for that person? Was it from that person that you got my name and number? Now, they might say, no, I just found your business card on the bus. But look at what I did. Look at the words I used. I set it up to let them know that I do a good job and I get referred all the time. Right? Did you pick up on that? So find out how they got your name and number, because you're going to need to check off one of these. If they say, I saw your billboard at the corner of Mavis and Eglinton, then you know your billboard is working a little bit, right? But if you never know where they got your name and number, how do you know what source to put them in? Okay? So take a few seconds and just do this, because this is really important. This is also going to identify where you're going to spend your time, effort, and money. If you're getting a lot of your business from your email database, guess what? Spend more time, effort, and money on the email database. There's ways to do that. Some people might get calls from their sign. I know one person who said, John, I got so many deals off my sign, didn't even realize until I did this exercise. He said, now I know this, I'm going to change my sign. I said, no, don't change your sign. Why would you do that? If you're getting a lot of business from your signs, why would you change it up? Oh, no, I'm not going to. There's a little section on the sign at the bottom right corner where it's just blank. I'm just going to add my social media buttons in there to show them that they can reach me this way. So I say, great, keep 80% of the sign intact and just change a little bit of it, right? But his sign is very successful. He didn't know that until he did this exercise. Okay? So again, something that you're going to want to do. Next, again, oh, by the way, I know we're moving quite quickly through this, but here's the thing. What I want you to do is get started on the book. I want you to take this book, and again, as homework, please complete as much of it as you can. I find that, and again, Ad, you might be able to back me up on this, but the most successful people in the world have some sort of a plan that they follow. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
Okay, whether it be their sleeping patterns, they always go to bed at a certain time, they always wake up at a certain time, they always read a certain number of books, they always read this type of book, but they always have some sort of a structure to what it is that they do. Because they as well know that, they know as well that we only have 112 hours a week. They maximize 112 hours. So again, as much as we're going to try and get something on every page, please go back to the book and please complete what you did. Okay, and I'll even open this up to you. If you want someone else, a third person to look at it, send it to me. We can go through it together, right? Or we can walk through certain sections of the book. If for whatever reason you don't have a coach or a mentor, maybe, I don't know, if you offer yourself up for this
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Anybody that has any questions, they can send it to me too.
I know Addie's very good at this because you did also hold a business planning session at Cityscape as well, just as I did. So we share the same philosophies on certain things, right? Now, this is where we start looking at your sales statistics, and this is part of the homework that you may have gotten, but this is where you look at your 2018 numbers. Very, very important. When I was a marketing manager at Bell, we couldn't start a new project until we closed out the first one, because there's key learnings in the old project. There's key learnings in your 2018 that you might want to start, stop, or continue doing. Okay? So here, and again, this is just made up numbers, by the way, but do you know your stats? Do you know what your production is? Here is the listing appointments that you went on. So what I want you to do on page 7 is, again, identify the number of listing appointments that you went on. If you went on 12, you may have gotten 10 listings. Okay, that's a really good ratio. That's an 83.3% ratio. Okay. If for whatever reason, okay, you got your 10 listings, over here, 9 sold, 1 person changed their mind. Okay, you can't help that. You don't always sell everything that you get. Some people change their mind, right? And then here's the number of buyers that you sold. So you've got 9 listings, nine sold listings, 7 sold buyers for a total of 16 ends. This is all on page 7. And then here you're going to calculate your listing volume, sales volume, and your total sold volume. Okay? And then here's your gross commission income on your sales and on your your listings and your buys. So the 16 deals worked out to be $260,000 in the GTA. Okay. In the East Coast, do you know how many deals they have to do to get $150,000? They've got to do like 30 deals, right? But here we're spoiled by the GTA market. So $260,000 is your gross commission income. Now, your average sale price is really simple. There's your math for your average sale price. Sorry, no, it's not. That's for, your commission, average commission. Your math for your average sale price is pretty simple. Take your 16 divided by this, and that's your average sale price. Again, GTA pricing. So there's a couple things I want you to remember when you go through this part of the business plan. I want you to remember this, your average sale price, and your commission. Now, that's the math on how to get your average commission. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. I will send you this deck, by the way. I've got all their emails, right?
I have them. So.
You got them? Okay. I'll email this deck out to you guys, so this will all be there. So now you know that your average commission in 2018 was 2.22%. Now, just remember this page. The next slide is just what each line means. So again, when you get this deck, you'll identify what each line means. I want you to now review, not just your stats, but your business expenses. So here, again, I'm just going to move forward on this because you might want to do this on your own time. But identify where your money went. Again, a key learning. Don't think this is just an exercise in futility. You're going to really understand, as long as you're honest about this, where your money went. I'll give you a good example of me. Remember when we talked about toner? Who here has a laser toner at home? Not color, just black and white. Anyone? How much is toner? How much is laser toner for black and white? You know?
Why buy it from some outsourced places?
Oh, okay.
$120.
You buy it from
$120.
So how much though?
$120.
$120, right? Okay, so my laser toner cost me $120. How many toner cartridges do you buy a year? Because you typically get one, right? Because it prints thousands of pages,
Yes.
right? One year I spent almost $1,100 on laser toner black. Who does that? I didn't realize that I was just printing anything willy-nilly, just bang. Was I printing out just lots of black? You know? No. So that was an eye-opener for me. I learned be smarter in how I print out. Auto expenses, gas. I spent so much money on gas just jumping into my car, going to show anybody anything. You learn to become a better agent. You learn how to become someone who asks the right questions. So instead of me jumping into my car, showing any property that someone calls me and says, can you show me this property, I've learned to ask the right questions. Maybe I don't get in my car anymore. Okay? So this is, again, not just an exercise in futility, but it's a key learning on how to actually save on your expenses. Okay, so please make sure you do this. Now, this is just another way of looking at your expenses. Okay, it's just a pie chart. Now you're going to focus on this year, so 2019. So 2019, again, we're going to look at our calculations for what we want to do. We're going to look at what we want to start, stop, and continue doing. And then we're going to look at our personal and professional goals. Because it's extremely important that you have a personal life. That's what this whole project is, this whole presentation is for. Learning how to give you a work-life balance and learn how to work efficiently so you can spend more time with your family or doing what it is you like to do. Do you remember this page right here? I told you to remember a couple things. We're going to take some of these numbers and we're going to put it into here. Okay? So, the first thing we're going to look at is your average sale price. Okay? Your average sale price in 2018 was $739,000, right? In 2019, you say to yourself, well, it took me a little while to get to 739. I like it. I'm going to leave that for 2019. Or you're going to say, well, really, I got lazy last year, so I can probably do more, do better. So I'm going to up it to 775. You now look at your previous numbers and you determine what you want to do for 2019. So if you say to yourself, well, I missed out on a couple of really high-end deals, but I think I can get them for 2019. I think I'll work out to about $775 per transaction. Then you can't just put the number there. You need to learn how to speak to those people in that price range. You need to better your listing presentation. You need to make sure that you've got the content to attract this type of a listing now. Okay? And then you look at your average commission. What was it for 2018? 2.22. If you say, you know what, my average, and by the way, I've got to say this, whenever I talk commission, it's always for illustrative purposes only. Everyone has their own version of commission, all right? And no, you can't say it's part of my board, or my board has a minimum. You can't blame it on RICO or Toronto Real Estate Board. That you get in trouble for that. But this is for illustrative purposes only. You can't, if you say, you know what, 2.22, it's all right, but what I want for 2019 is I want to average out to 2.5%, which means I either always charge 2.5% or sometimes I get 3, sometimes I make 2, whatever. But again, not a number you can just put in there in ink. You have to learn how to defend your commission now. So whatever numbers you put in here, there's a key learning. There's, okay, I'm going to put 2.5%, but here's the thing, my weakness is defending my commission. So can I really put 2.5% there? I struggle to get 2.22. Maybe I just say, maybe 2.3 is fair. Maybe I bump it up just a little bit. But whenever you bump up your commission or target commission, you've got to start learning how to defend your commission with the value proposition that RE/MAX gives you. Role play, 2 words everyone hates. You want to throw stuff at me now, right? You got to learn how to role play, okay? And defend your commission. Anyone agree or disagree with what I've just said?
Agreed.
Right. Now, when you do the math, 775, 2.5, there's your per transaction gross commission income, 19,000. Your per transaction net works out to be 13,000. I'm going to show you. There's 2 ways to get this number. Sometimes, many of you might just take your gross commission, rip out your fees and your office space, and then that's your net. Some of you do that, which is totally fine. Someone once asked me when they joined this business, John, but when I was working in the corporate world, I had RSPs, I had forced savings, I had health, I had dental, I had taxes taken out. What do I do now? I said, well, we can do that by coming up with a percentage. I just want to show you this. You don't have to do it this way, but I just want to show it to you. Basically, what you do is you work out what you want to take out from your gross commission as forced savings, RSPs, all those things that I just mentioned. Take out a value, and it's going to work out to a percentage. This is just the one example I used for somebody, and it worked out to 30%. If you take out 30% for all those things and more, your per transaction net is now 13,000. But keep in mind, it's lower, but you also bought for savings and RSPs, investments, health, and all that other stuff. So it's actually still a little bit more. But you do whatever it is you want to do. I just wanted to show you this way of doing it so that you can actually rip out some of those things ahead of time. Okay? I don't know if you ever taught it that way, but again, that's just another option.
I really like that way though.
You like this way?
Yeah.
Everybody's percent is going to be different. Don't just arbitrarily pick 30%. Some of you might have higher or lower percentages. If you want to contribute more to your forced savings, that's going to be a higher number. Okay? But it's forced savings, so it's actually savings that you're putting away for something else, or investments. Okay? So don't think of it as, oh, that's lower for no reason. No, you've got some savings in there. Now, if you do the math now, your income goal, put your income goal of 275, you need to do 19 transactions to get this, based on these numbers. And again, some key learnings, you've bumped up your commission, learn how to defend it, you've bumped up your average sale price, learn how to speak to those people, okay, because you're bumping up probably another level, okay? Down here, all the math is here, by the way. So your transaction goal is 19. Multiply this by 40, you need to actually now speak two-way conversations to 760 people annually, okay? I'm gonna go through this in a second. Next, your total new prospects, conversations needed monthly, divide this by 12, or by 11. Let's say you go on vacation for a month. That's 69 people a month you need to speak to, two-way conversations. On a daily basis, let's say you only work 20 days of the month, you need to speak to 3.45 people a day. This is a lot more reasonable than just seeing that big number, right? So Brian Buffini actually says in his mayor campaign, just hand out 5 business cards to 5 strangers, right? He just says it so easily, doesn't he? But some of you might be very shy. So here's your goals for the week. If you're very shy, do one. Hand out 1 business card every 3rd day or every other day to a stranger. And then what you do is you hand out 1 every day to a stranger. And then you bump it up to 2. You go 2 business cards every other day to a total stranger. And then when you're comfortable with that, do 2 every day. So work your way up. Because again, there are very shy people in this world, in this industry, that are very successful, who've learned how to actually communicate with people, just take it slow. But here's how I interpret 760. I mine my database like there's no tomorrow. I always start there first. Let's say for whatever reason, so your name?
Tariq.
So Tariq, okay. Tariq, and your name?
Mahmoud.
Mahmoud, okay, so Tariq and Mahmoud are in my database. They're not real estate agents, they're people who've either done business with me or you've referred a lot of business to me. Because I know you've referred a lot of business to me or we've done business, you and I are gonna have conversations. I'll probably reach out to you 10 times throughout the year to have a two-way conversation, okay? I've probably done the same thing with you, okay? So that's 10 and 10, that's 20. Minus 760, that's 740 conversations I need to have now. This isn't 760 unique people. I would like it to be, but let's be realistic, it's hard. If there are people in your database that you communicate with on a regular basis because they are worth something to you, make sure you don't lose touch with them. The reason why I'm spending so much time, effort, and money on Mahmoud and Tariq is because they're worth deals to me. Does that make sense? I would love for you to, again, find 760 unique people, but it doesn't always work out that way. The people in your database, as long as you're having two-way conversations that are meaningful and business-related sometimes, maybe not all the time. Maybe I just reach out to you to have dinner or have lunch, we just hang out, right? But he still remembers who I am. We still hang out, we're communicating. Make sure you find ways to have two-way conversations with the people in your database that matter the most. Brian Buffini calls them, what does he call them? Your A, right? He goes A, B, and C. Or does it go gold, silver, bronze? 1, 2, 3. Whatever it is you do, focus on your high prospects. Okay. Now, here, again, this is just, again, an example of what these lines mean. The conversion data. Now we know how many people we have to talk to. And everyone talks about that part of it. I'm going to bring to you now what I feel is important, because you can talk to 760 people, and before you actually do that, also learn how to talk to people. Okay? It's not just a matter of, hey, how are you, right? It could be that, depending on who it is, but learn how to have a really good, solid conversation with them. And if it's not a long conversation, let's say you only have a few minutes in line at the coffee shop, learn how to have a really quick conversation that promotes your value. It's like a 30-second elevator pitch. Give them your business card or take down their number and you move on. But learn how to create a 30-second elevator pitch for yourself. But it's not just talking to 760 people, it's how to convert those people into appointments, and then appointments into leads. Appointments into signed contracts, and then agreements or contracts into closed deals. So I'm going to show you a stat, okay, that has come out of NAR. Okay? Actually, I'm just going to tell it to you. NAR says that you need to speak to 160 people, or have 160 two-way conversations with people to get one deal. Okay? That makes
John,
no sense.
Before, John, before
Yeah.
we go forward, that 30-second, I'm kind of interested in. This is something really want to know. Any ideas in that sense that how we can be more effective in that 30-second or minute conversation?
Oh, yeah.
What would be the priority and
Yeah,
what
so
stuff
if
we
you're
need to
new to this, if you need to start this if you need to create one, right? The first thing you're gonna do, and it's really simple, okay? And I don't mean to minimize the simplicity of this, but what I do is I answer the who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Okay.
That's it,
All
right? Again, I'm being very honest.
Okay.
But the content of the who and the what and the why, the where, the how is all up to you. So what you want to do is you want to take the Remax value proposition, blend that with what your strengths are. We just did the SWOT, right? That's why, I'm not telling you to do these things just for fun. I'm telling you to do them because there's a meaning behind it. When you get your SWOT done, your strengths, you can identify that in your elevator proposition, right? Your elevator pitch. So again, work in the value propositions to your strengths, work in your brokerage, how you work, okay, where you work, what you've done in the past, and then again, why it's important that they understand this about you. Believe it or not, all of that can be done in 30 seconds. It really can be, okay? Because you're hitting points. You're just hitting points, okay? And again, if you want, you can actually send me your script and I will actually review it and then just give you some feedback on it if you want. Or work with Addie, okay? Can help you. Thank you. Can you just check my computer and look at the questions, just roll up on it and then just see whether or not there's any?
Yes.
Okay? Or actually, you know what, just make sure it's still going, okay? You don't have to touch anything.
All right,
Thank you so
okay.
much. I've got something going on in the office as well. Let me explain this to you. So again, this is where people don't actually take the time to explain to you the fruits of your labor when you go out and you try and make a conversation with somebody. So, I'm not gonna go, this is actually NAR's numbers. Like I said, you need to speak to 160 people to get 6 appointments, which works out to this ratio. 6 appointments, 2 agreements is that ratio. 2 agreements, 50%, you got 1 closing. I'm gonna be very honest. This is crap, okay? What NAR did was they took a brand spanking new agent who has no clue about what they're supposed to do. Because many of you, who here is fairly seasoned? A couple of years? 2 years, 3 years? Okay, you know as well as I know that if you're working with people that refer you, these numbers go higher, right? So I'm gonna be more realistic about what numbers look like in a real life scenario, which is this. So, okay, well, there we go. Notice how I kept this the same and I changed this value and this value. Let's start here. Let's not start over there. Let's start here. How many closings do you want this year? You want 10, right? The reality of this is determined by the number of agreements you have. The number of agreements you have is determined on the number of appointments you have, the number of appointments, the number of calls made. If you have if you want 10 closings, you need to have 14 agreements. The reality here is you don't get all the BRAs to close. And by the way, this isn't listings. This is actually BRAs and listing agreements together. Okay, so sellers and buyers together. So of the 14 agreements you had, 2 buyers decided they were going to change their mind, and 2 sellers decided they were going to change their mind. You only came up with 10, right? So that's a 70% ratio. Take the 14, put it here, number of agreements. Now, the better you can speak about real estate, the better your listing presentation, the more you can present a value proposition, this becomes a higher ratio, not 33%. So if you've got 14 agreements, that means you went to 24 appointments. Now, if you're working on purely referrals, this could be 100%, right? Because you're going to people that have referred you already, or repeat business. But this is definitely more than the 33% that NAR tells you it is. So take your 24, put it here. Let's leave this ratio the same because it's kind of close. So 24 into this is 640. Not the 160 for one deal that NAR says. But the truth about this is the better you can present yourself, the higher these ratios go. The more you know about the industry, the higher the ratios go. The more success you have in listing presentations and buyer presentations, the higher these ratios go. which means the less number of people you have to speak to. And keep in mind, that's not 640 unique people. It could be that you've got Tariq and Mahmoud, right? So again, I would say that's 20 contacts in the year, and then Sharon's in there, that's 10 again, so 30. I'll throw one more in, sorry, your name? George, that's 40. So now I've only got 640 more two-way conversations to make throughout the year. Okay? So it's not really that hard, because again, bless you, if I wanted to challenge myself, I could say of that, 300 of them are going to be brand spanking new. I'm just going to walk up to people. I've done this. I've been in line. People are talking. I'll say, oh, you know what? I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I hear you talking about real estate. I happen to be a real estate professional. I'll be sitting here in that corner if you want additional information about what it is you're talking about. Here's my card. Sometimes they come over. Sometimes they say, oh, no, we've got an agent already, but thanks very much. Okay? But it's a matter of you just getting out and giving out your card. The Buffini's mayor campaign, right? So these numbers, I think, are a little bit more realistic. Column 4 is just a ratio. It's just an overall conversion. That's all it is. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
So don't let this be intimidating, okay? Because we're talking to people all the time, but just know this can also be broken down in two phrases, okay? Or sorry, one phrase. It's a numbers game. You guys have heard this? The more you get out there, the more people you talk to, the more you're gonna get something. Okay? All right. So this is really just again a summary of the economics of your business. What I want to do now is just go through some numbers and goals. So start, stop, continue doing. What I want you to do, so we are going to spend just a minute on this, is I want you to look at this page 11. Go back to 2018. And by the way, again, if you're so new that you don't have a whole lot of history, then now you know what you've got to do for 2020, right? You've got to cover your 2019. Look at what you tried to do, and then it didn't work out. So you need to stop doing that. Look at what you are doing that's working out. You want to continue doing that. And think about the things that you aren't doing, but you want to start doing. So start, stop, continue doing. Take a few seconds and do this. Now, the one thing I want you to consider when you talk about stop, when you look at stop doing, let's say you were door knocking and it didn't work out for you. Please be realistic about how you were door knocking. Were you doing it the right way? Farming is another one. People say, I'm going to farm a neighborhood. They spend a certain amount of months with flyers, no call, and they just stop. How long does it take to farm a neighborhood, guys? Passive marketing, just flyers.
At least 2 years.
2 years.
At least 2 years? Okay, they say anywhere from 18 to 24 months, right? Let's go on the 18-month side. It takes them 6 months to look at something to say, oh, it's Tariq. Actually, no, they don't even say that. For the first 6 months, they just look at it and then just put it in the recycling. And then in the next 6 months, it's, oh, it's that Tariq guy again. But now they know who you are. And then another 6 months for them to say, oh, wait a minute. You know what? We should really see what our house is worth. Let's give Tariq a call. You may not get the deal, but now they know who you are, right? That's 18 months. But if you're active in the community, if you're doing things in the community, you can reduce that to 9. So there's active and passive marketing, which is a whole other class. But all I'm trying to say is, before you give something up, make sure you gave it a legitimate shot. Okay? So take a minute. Okay? Start doing. A lot of people put social media. A lot of people put role playing there. A lot of people put getting a coach. Right? So again, take a few seconds and then just understand what you want to start, stop, and continue doing. Okay?